In today's video, we are going to dive into the tactics that Mikel Arteta used in the Champions League final against PSG because I do believe he almost had the right system to win this game. But we're going to talk about one of the biggest flaws that Arsenal have been facing not only this season, but for multiple seasons under Mikel Arteta. Now, looking at the starting 11, not really too surprising what we did see with Arsenal going into this match. PSG obviously being one of the best striking forces going through the Champions League this season. We all remember the match against Bayern Munich, absolutely phenomenal. So it was really no surprise that we did see more defensive lineup from Arsenal. They've been rock solid in the back of the line, and therefore, again, not too surprised that we are going to see it again in this match. Now, looking at who we all saw in this match, obviously there were some injuries. We did see Mascara play on the right side and Kepi play on the left side. Obviously, the big guys, Big Gabby, Saliba, the CBs pairing with Ray in the back. But still, MLS and Rice in the midfield, this is where it was quite interesting, but it did make sense as well. And then we obviously saw Trossard, Odegaard, Saka, and Kai Havertz. Now, this game itself definitely turned for the better for Arsenal with that quick early goal where Trossard made a deflection, the ball fall to Kai Havertz, who again absolutely just loves playing the final, scored a goal very early on in the 5th minute, which is obviously what Arsenal wanted to see themselves do, because once they had that goal, they were able to lock down fairly deep in through this entire match. Now, people are going to say this is where Arsenal were slacking because they only had 25%. That is not the problem at all in this match. And yes, they could have had more possession, but when you look at the stats, the fact that PSG only had 4 shots on target for 120 minutes, and yes, I understand Arsenal had 1 shot on target, and we will get to that in just a second, just shows you how good this defensive line was, because PSG really could not penetrate anything throughout this entire match, because anything that came through this area was constantly being blocked every single time. Obviously, Vitinha, how good of a player he was dropping back to try to win the ball and play around, and they were even trying to overload areas. Now, granted, that fully did work for Ousmane Dembele, and obviously Kvaratskhelia later on, where it did lead the penalty on that left side or right side, however you want to say it. And like I said, because of that, that changed the entire game. Obviously, Arsenal had to come out of their fixture just a little bit to try to go and win this game. And yes, it did go to penalties, but the biggest issue that Arsenal have been facing is the defense themselves, is the release valve. They do not have a player that they can utilize for counterattacking. If you think about all the other teams that have played rock solid defensively, you think about Chelsea, how they had Torres, they had different players that could be on the counter. You think about Real Madrid, Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale. You think about all these other teams. Yes, you have Trossard. You cannot heavily rely on Trossard to be an outlet for you to break down a counterattack very quickly. Kai Havertz, yes, you could argue, has scored goals on the counterattack, but really, he's still not the same guy that's very quick and pacey with it, and he's not going to be the guy that's going to be able to carry from, say, half to go all the entire way. Yes, you can play a through ball to him. That can work out. And even Saka, yes, he's a good player, a phenomenal player, but he does not have the capability of beating players on the counterattack. And because of this is where Arsenal do struggle, because in this match, they literally had 1 shot on target. That's it. Had they been able to have some type of counter pressing to, again, get the ball out to some of these players, they could have easily hit PSG on a counterattack and scored a second goal and pretty much shut this entire game down, but they were not able to. Now, I believe Martinelli did come on later in this match, and I would say, yes, he's actually a better player for the counterattacking style that they should have been playing, and probably maybe should have started this game. But yes, again, hindsight's 2020 when you look at that, because who knows, had he started, maybe Arsenal don't score that early because of Trossard making that block, but still, they needed something to allow them to, again, express and also get the ball out and relieve that pressure. And because that never happened, eventually it led to errors from Arsenal that led to the penalty, that led to the goal for PSG, and allowed them back into the game. Because had they been able to, again, do something along those lines, they would have been able to constantly press and push back PSG over the time. But because they didn't, PSG obviously were able to swarm and constantly push Arsenal back and have their back against the wall. And again, nothing being said that we haven't said already, Arsenal are one of the best teams defensively wise, but every defense eventually is going to crack, and we saw it here. And this is one of the things that Arsenal need to do, and obviously Arteta looking into next year if they're trying to win Champions League, is finding players that can help relieve and do some counter attacking for them, because obviously the back line's rock solid. David Araya is probably one of the best goalkeepers in between the sticks. In the midfield, MLS, I do think, again, is going to grow into that position as well, along with Declan Rice. We don't even have to speak how great of a player he is. And even Odegaard is still a good player and very creative player. It's like I said, they do not have the capabilities in hitting players out on the wings for the most part. Again, I do think, again, Trossard is not a bad player, but he's just not going to be the guy that's going to allow you to do the pressing and counter-attacking like I said we've seen with other teams. Like, again, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. It was a better option. And not, again, saying Timo Werner is any better than Trossard, but still, when you're doing counter-attacking, he's kind of a better player. And therefore, again, this is something that Arsenal are going to have to look into this upcoming summer if they want to compete in the Champions League. Because I do think, again, they can use this entire squad, win the Premier League again next season. But like I said, if they're trying to get some type of European trophy, they have to be looking at possibly getting a player that can help them counterattack and win them goals and get them more chances to get in front of the goal. And therefore, again, just cut out games, finish it off, and just hit that. And like I said, win games 2-1 or 2-0, and the game is over for them. So I do want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think Arsenal could have won this match had they done more attacking, or do you think this was just a game that PSG was eventually going to win? I want to know what you guys think, so comment down below, and I will see you in the next video.